Hi, I'm Rob and this is Gems of War. In this video I'm going to give you my opinion on what is good and bad in the Soulforge, what's worth crafting and what's more useless than eBay. Last night I went to buy a lighter, so I put that in and all it said is you have 13,758 matches. I don't want to know how many matches I got, I want a lighter, that's the whole blinking point. Useless. Anyway, onto the shop, let's take a look at the weekly event troop. This is Nala. Only uses some of your glory, so always worth getting. Groznak Epic, and let's see what she does. Uses red and yellow and inflicts Hunter's Mark on the first enemy, then converts all green gems to skulls. Oh, I like that. Hunter's Mark, basically you get double damage from skull damage, and the fact that it converts green gems to skulls, doesn't create green gems, gives this more certainty to me. Even troops like the Wild Queen or the Wild King, they create gems first, which means there's no guarantee of ever getting any matches. You could set the opposition up. With this kind of troop that converts all green gems to skulls, you can see with absolute certainty whether you're going to get any matches, any 4 matches, before you cast it. And the fact it inflicts Hunter's Mark first is absolutely superb. Yes, really like this. Let's take a look at the traits. Gain 5 armor when I take a damage. Pretty good. And that's if they hit you, because you have a 20% chance to dodge skull damage with that second trait. Ooh, and start battles with full mana. Oh, this is going to be good. I like this. I've got an idea for this already. But I'm not going to say what it is just yet. I'll maybe show it in a team later. Maybe not today though. Maybe not tomorrow, but soon, as someone said somewhere once. Yeah, so I like this. Really good. Can be extremely effective, especially with that. Start battles with full mana. Yes, I like Nala a lot. This is an easy 8 out of 10 for me. It's borderline 9 considering it's an epic. Very good indeed. But I'm going to play it safe and say 8 out of 10 for Nala. As ever, you should always grab these up to the mythic level if you have the excess glory. This will give you another troop you can take up to maximum power, and then that gives you more effect on your power level kingdoms in the long run on the game, so definitely worth grabbing. And while you're here, if you've got any other glory left over, always worth grabbing these up to quantity 10 as well, the Spoils of War. More event keys, more gold, more souls. What's not to like about that, apart from even more treasure maps to put into your pile of treasure maps? I must have actually like 4 rooms I've just filled up with treasure maps in this game that just are not going to use. It's like devs could really create something in the game that players with all these extra resources like me can actually use some of this stuff. They just must know we're never ever going to use. But anyway, on to the Soulforge. Let's take a look. As ever, we'll start with the weapons first. I'm not going to go over all these ones that are at the bottom where they're in every single Soulforge. This one's not though, because I've reviewed all the other ones previously. Right, Lockstone. What does this do? Gains a barrier, deals damage to an enemy, magic +3, and silences them. So not a lot of damage, but barrier and silence is handy. But 13 mana, that is a lot for that. Crikey. Yeah, it's like the devs put a lot of value on things like barrier and silence, because the damage is not a lot. And yeah, overall not recommended. That is collectible. Like I say, all these other ones are in previous Soulforge videos. Mace of Groznak. Remove all red gems with no effect. So basically you need to be not using red yourself, and preferred if the enemy uses red, because this takes away the colour that they need the most. Then deal magic +5 damage to an enemy boosted by the gems removed. If the enemy is from Groznak, or if the battle is in Groznak, deal double damage. So pretty situational, can be very effective against the right team, and orcs like red, and orcs are typically from Groznak or are Groznak troops, so can be effective against an orc team, providing you're not using an orc team yourself, or bizarrely not using red somehow. So can be good, and only 9 mana cost. String of Teeth. It's interesting. Looks more like a string of teeth and tomatoes to me, but hey ho. Enrage an ally and give 17, in my case, attack to them, boosted by orc allies, and summon an orc. So the summon is good. Enrage is pretty good, deals 1.5 times attack damage, and ignores enemy traits. That is the important thing about Enrage. And boosts their attack as well, but pretty situational, and generally not going to be a game changer, but it can save you at the same time with that summon. Not bad, but not exactly amazing either. Bone Scraper deals damage to an enemy boosted by orc allies, then creates a mix of 6 green and red gems for each orc ally. So another one of these ongoing sets of weapons we're getting from each kingdom. Uses blue and brown. So the fact this creates green and red means you obviously need preferably orcs in your team that use green and red to a certain degree, because it's not going to self-charge the weapon at all. But if your team fulfills those requirements, then it can be excellent. Spiked Mace deals damage, looks like magic +7, to an enemy boosted by Groshnak allies. Then this is similar to the last one. Then create a mix of 6 red and brown gems for each Groshnak ally. So uses green and blue, but in the same way this generates red and brown. So you need other members of your team to use those colours to get the most out of it. And if they do, it can be very good. Earth's Fury. Now this is really, really good. Like, really good. Eliminates all armour from an enemy. Now the cool thing about this is, at a lower end of the game, obviously it's not mega effective, but at the higher end of the game, on Explore 12s and in certain delves and things like that, this is like super powerful. So really good in that way, and deals a not bad amount of damage, to be honest, and deals 42 damage in my case. Looks like magic +5. Then give all allies 2 attack boosted by the armor eliminated. So really aggressive weapon. Really, really good. Not quite up there with the likes of other armor stripping weapons like rope dart, but pretty close, to be honest. This very, very good. Do like it a lot, and if you're fairly new to the game and you're able to get this and you feel like rope dart, you're going to wait for that for a while or whatever, then this is certainly worth getting. And obviously the cool thing about this is it uses different colours to rope dart, and rope dart uses yellow and blue. This is red and brown. So always good to have similar type weapons using different colours. This gives you a lot of flexibility in other teams. So Earth's Fury, very, very good indeed. Borderline essential, if you ask me. Doomed Codex. This is the doomed weapon this week. Deals a fairly low amount of scatter damage, to be honest, but +4 per temporary level boost, and create a mix of 6 brown and 6 skulls for every brown enemy. That part is really important. I'll explain why in a second. Then give 3 magic to all allies, and if the enemy had a doom, give 5 more. I'd only get this sort of weapon if you're a high level player and you really, really like Guild Wars defense on your defense teams. You're not going to find a lot of use for this on attack day on Guild Wars or any other attack day, to be honest, because you need that mix of brown and skulls to be against an all brown team, to be honest. And the only way you're going to find that is on Guild Wars on the opponent's attack day. So on brown day on Guild Wars, when ordinarily all the opponent is going to have all the brown allies, this is very good to stick into a defense team on that, but you're not going to find a lot of use for it anyway. So basically, if you take your Guild Wars defense really, really seriously, this is a very good weapon to have for that, but otherwise it is kind of collectible in a way, because you're not going to find a lot of use for it other times. So Guild Wars defense, if you're serious about that, then this is really good. Otherwise, nah. But Earth's Fury, absolutely the one to get this week if you don't have it already. Now let's take a look at the troops, and same as the weapons, not going to go over the ones that are here all the time, just the new stuff. First up is Faerie Gobmother. Now this is a interesting troop because it's kind of random, but everything that it does is kind of good at the same time. First off the bat, it gains an extra turn. Straight up, extra turn, it's a goblin, that's going to happen. But then, it either creates 2 or 3 Wish Gems. Wish Gems basically give you full mana on 1, 2, 3, or all of your allies, or all your allies and the team the opposition team at the same time. So it's basically 80% of the time, on average, that should go in your favour. And when it does, it can work superbly well. It just can be a really, really quick way of filling up your team with mana. They can't be matched. You have to destroy Wish Gems, so you will need some sort of exploder on your team, like a leprechaun or something like that. Somebody that actually can destroy those gems. Otherwise, they will just sit there. Best used against a team that doesn't have any way of destroying gems, because that way they will never be able to match them, and it's only you that will benefit from them. So that can be good on that. But that is just a 1 in 3 chance of that happening, because you can create two or three Wish Gems, or deal damage to all enemies, or give life to all allies, both boosted by Wish Gems. So you can make that work in your favour. This is actually quite a clever troop. I do actually really like it, but it is super situational. You don't want a team that explodes or destroys gems in any way, shape or form, because that way, if you choose to, you can actually let the Wish Gems build up a little bit, and then you can get that damage boosted. You can get that life boosted like that, because they're both boosted by the Wish Gems on the board. And yeah, I actually quite like it. I did show a video a few months ago now when Faerie Gobmother first came out, and I basically broke the game by having fighting a team that had no way of destroying any gems, and I didn't on my team either, and basically I filled up the entire board with Wish Gems eventually, bar I think 5 maybe 6 empty slots, and caused a complete game reset in the end, which was actually quite cool. Anyway, Faerie Gobmother, interesting troop indeed. Next one up is King Irongut. Absolutely awesome troop, and if you're doing the Underworld and the Delves, then you basically need this guy. Deals damage to an enemy with a chance to devour them equal to his attack, then gains an extra turn. Now, even at my level, like attack 55, sounds like it's just above 50-50 chance of that working. Why is he good? If you're a newer player, you could be wondering this. Well, basically, when you go in Delves, on your Horde level, you will boost up all your stats, and attack is one of them. As well as that, you can chuck on medals. You can chuck on medals of seasons, medals of Nysha if you had them. 3 lots of them, you can build up his attack even more. There is ways of getting his attack nice and high, really, really quickly, and making him mega effective in the game. As well as that, there are other troops which give attack to an ally. There's lots of really easy ways to get his attack basically above 100, which means unless the person or creature or thing you are trying to devour is somehow immune to that, you will devour them every single time. So King Irongut is absolutely superb and utterly, utterly essential if you're in this game in any way serious way at all. Next up is Doomclaw. More like, it's not really Doomclaw, it's maybe a bit iffy. Claw might give you a bit of a scratch claw, might miss you a bit completely claw. Deals damage to an enemy boosted by enraged allies with separate 25% chances to devour the next enemy above and below. So personally, I'm not a real fan of these kind of troops. I like to know what's going to happen when I cast someone, rather than a chance of something happening. The damage is set in stone, that is magic plus 8, boosted by enraged allies, but 2 separate 25% chances to devour are the things I don't like. First of all, you need to cast this on the second or third opponents down, otherwise you're going to miss out on one of those chances to devour if you cast it on the troop top or bottom. And then yeah, then you're just completely relying on luck to whether that works or not. So not a real fan of this, but if you don't mind those risk versus reward kind of things, and when it pulls off, it's going to be amazing, especially if it devours both of them. That'd be astounding. But can be good, can be bad. Traits are pretty decent. Immune to devour, gain 1 magic for each brown ally, and enrage a random ally on 4 or 5 gem matches. But just not a fan of the spell myself, to be honest. Stonehammer. This is one of the earliest mythics I got in the game, and I didn't actually like it very much. It just seemed to be a bit of a rubbish spell. It didn't seem to get a 4 match that much when he done that mix of 22 red and brown. But it's actually more useful than I realised as a earlier player. particularly in Guild Wars. You find this guy in first place quite a lot in Guild Wars because it's immune to stun, poison, disease, deathmark, lycanthropy, and devour. Reduces damage from skulls by 80%, and the spell is actually, in certain teams against certain opponents, really good. Stun and burn all enemies, then create that mix of 22 red and brown gems and gain a bunch of life. So the combination of that reduced skull damage with the fact he gains life when he casts and can't be death marked and all the rest of it makes him a tough cookie in first place. But not for everyone, but certainly does work in certain teams. Was that it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, it was, because of the other one. Now, I don't recommend actually crafting the legendaries. They're going to turn up in chests way more than what mythics do. So, but we'll have a quick look at the 4 legendaries anyway. Arbor Earth removes all gems, heals back to full, and gains 35 life in my case. I actually used to use this troop quite a lot as a mid-level player. The fact that it makes a complete board reset basically, heals back to full. The important thing to remember about that is that's only if your actual life has been reduced below, in my case 100. It doesn't affect you if basically you've still got your armor. I'm pretty sure that's correct if I remember that correctly. It gains a load of attack, so decent enough, but a bit random at the same time. But the constant way this can keep on, you can let enemies hit you to a certain degree and then just cast and then get back to full health. Can be a lot of fun to use. Grog the Dread. In fact, it might as well be Grog the Dead because I think it's kind of useless. I don't think I've ever used this troop ever. Deal damage to the last 2 enemies, so who you hit is forced upon you. And if there are 13 or more red gems, summon a random daemon. So in a red team, there may well be a lot of red gems there, particularly if there's a red storm. But apart from that, you're not often going to get 13 or more red gems. And you're going to have to wait if you want to cast this sometimes, if you want to get that summon. So not ideal. The damage to the last 2 enemies can be handy if those last 2 enemies are stealthy. That is going to be a good way of hitting them. So not entirely useless, but I don't think I've ever used this troop in a team ever. But that doesn't mean to say it doesn't have his place, because allied daemons gain 2 life, is immune to all status effects, devour, lycanthropy, and mana burn, and has a 5% chance to devour on a skull damage, which is like 1 in 20, so that's quite low. Truarg the Dread. Truarg the not so dreaded, I would say, all around. Nutcracker 1225. Anyway, eliminates all armor from an enemy, explodes all gems of one of the enemy's colors, then explodes all stone blocks. So another troop that destroys all the armor on an enemy absolutely straight away. But explodes all gems of one of the enemy's colors is a bit random. That means like you need to do that on someone that basically you can control the colors of. Like, or if there's, for example, 15 red on the board and like 4 yellow, and you're going to cast that on that troop, but it's the red or yellow. You know, if you want red, that's good. But if you want yellow as well, but or don't want yellow, sorry, but cast it on them anyway, and it decides it's going to actually destroy yellow, you're not going to get a lot of mana from that. So better to cast on mono-coloured enemies, ones that only use 1 mana colour, but that doesn't happen very often. And then explodes all stone blocks. So good in certain places, good in certain mech teams, but quite situational. And who's the last one? The Flesh Horror. Eliminate all armor from an enemy. This is a bit of a theme this week. Then deal, in my case, 35 damage to them. That's magic +2. And all enemies below them. So the sooner you can cast this, generally the better. Most times you're going to want to cast this on the top troop, but not all the time, because that damage to all enemies below them is irrelevant. But at the same time, if you've already hit or got some incidental skull damage on the first enemy at the top a few times, and you may be already eating into that armor, or that armor's really low, you may be actually better off casting this on the second opponent down if they've still got all their armor, and doing more damage that way. So a pretty decent troop there, the Flesh Horror. Not a bad set of traits, but nothing spectacular either. So who gets my coveted Mythic of the week. Well, that can only be one person really. Hi King Irongut, there's no point building this up. It's going to be him all day long. Absolutely fantastic troop. King of the Delves, still absolutely fantastic when you do Delves using either blue, brown or yellow. You'll just stomp through them with the correct team using this guy, and I'll show a couple of teams in Delves using him in the future, so be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to see those. So there it is. Hi King Irongut gets my Mythic of the week, and that brings us to the end of this video. So I'll do another one today. I always do 2 on a Monday. I'll be showing my World Event team later on, so check back in a couple of hours for that. But there it is. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. But most of all, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye for now.